Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Monday, ladies. Here we are, another Monday. Good evening to all of you who are joining us tonight. This is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We are excited tonight about our conversation that we're going to have and our guest that has joined us, Betty Neal. And we're going to give her an opportunity to introduce herself, and we're going to introduce ourselves as we normally do. So, Betty, we normally start by introducing ourselves and then saying what we are grateful for. So, I'll start. I am Theodora Carter. I am a certified professional life and career coach and HR consultant. I am passionate about helping women just live their authentic lives and live the lives that they desire to live. And I am also passionate about helping small business owners run their business by letting me do their HR work. And I am grateful tonight for traveling mercies as I traveled this weekend to Williamsburg, Virginia, drove there and back. And so I'm just thankful that God got me there safely and got me safely home and got my God sisters who are traveling safely back home as well. So that is what I'm grateful for tonight. And I'm going to hand the baton over to Sheila.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. My name is Sheila Isom. I am an insurance professional, and I am also um, um, a notary public, and I also sell Color Street nail strips. I am an independent consultant for Color Street. And as you will hear when Betty starts talking, I also work very closely with Betty because I am a board member on the foundation that she's getting ready to talk to you about.
Nice.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. My name is Regina Booker, owner of Season and Fabulous, where we help women 50 plus get unstuck after they've done their careers. Well, maybe thinking about retirement, um, empty nesters wanting to do something they're passionate about and getting out of your own way. You're not stuck. And also having retreats. And that is what we do. What I am grateful for this evening is, as I talked to some of you last week, or our discussion last week, and I mentioned that I had avoiding things because I had clothes on my bed. Well, ladies, the clothes are gone.
Oh,
So I spent the weekend kind of organizing my house, my bedroom, and getting things together. So I am grateful for that because I have been avoiding it for months.
nice. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And so, Betty, welcome. We're so excited to have you tonight. And I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and share, who you are, what you
Okay.
do, and what you're grateful for.
Okay. My name is Betty Neal Manchin, and I am the founder of the Love You Girl Foundation. I am also a retired insurance professional. I spent 34 years, almost 34 years, not quite, in the auto insurance industry where I managed the casualty claims unit. I just today received my certification. I am a certified security officer, which gives me some options now. I want to do some part-time work. I am grateful tonight for this. Today makes 4 weeks. My son and my daughter-in-law had a baby. The baby was to be born in January, but the baby decided that he would come on September the 23rd. So the baby is 4 weeks old today, and he's doing very well. And I'm grateful and thankful for that. We've been praying without ceasing. God is in the miracle working business. God is good. Praise God, and I'm thankful for that. I'm also thankful for the opportunity to be on with you ladies tonight, and I thank you for what you do. But I thank you for being on with you tonight so that I might live into the ministry and the mission of the Love You Girl Foundation. And again, I am the founder and executive officer of the foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization.
Nice. Well, thank you, Betty. So tell us a little bit about how the foundation got started.
Okay, the foundation was born of tragedy. So I like to always start out by telling people this is October. So we all know that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And certainly there is the need for breast cancer awareness. There is the need for the research for, as a result of that, women are living longer. We have early detection. I have uh, women who are close to me who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. My mom is actually 84 years old, and she was actually diagnosed with breast cancer at 82 years old. So there has been lots of strides that have been made. My mother is living proof of that. So there is the need for breast cancer awareness. So I'm grateful for that as well tonight and all the strides that have been made. But October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And what we find is that many people don't know that. The Love You Girl
Mhm.
Foundation, the name of the foundation, and at the foundation, we are advocates against the crime of domestic violence. Our main mission in ministry is to empower victims, survivors, and advocates by educating and creating awareness of the devastating impacts of domestic violence in our communities. As we know, domestic violence knows no discrimination, so it can impact anyone. It impacts men, women, children are impacted, our teenagers who are dating are impacted, and it is also comes under the umbrella of family violence. So there's domestic violence, there's just violence and abuse of any kind, child abuse, elder abuse, all that falls under family violence. But domestic violence is intimate partner violence. So that's our main mission in ministry. And that was really all we were going to do. But once we got out in the community and we started doing these educational workshops, and you start listening to people's stories, you know that it has to be more than that. So, in addition to that ministry, we also like to support community based organizations that provide services, outreach, and counseling to domestic violence survivors. And we also like to support community organizations that mentor young adults. And we also have a scholarship component to our program. We have right now two scholarship recipients. They are both, thank God, in their last year. So we followed them for now 4 years. Once you receive the scholarship, we follow you for up to 5 years, as long as you're in good standings with your college or your university. So those recipients get a scholarship each and every semester. So we're quite proud of that. So that's the mission and the ministry of the organization. The Love You Girl Foundation was born of tragedy after my best friend's husband shot and killed her. At that point, and that's why education awareness is so important in our main ministry, because a lot of us, we're just very unaware of domestic violence. First of all, we're unaware that domestic violence, first of all, is a crime. It is an indictable crime, and we need to be aware of that. We're not aware of the signs and the symptoms. It is still very much a subject that is tabooed. We don't want to talk about it. There's stigmas that are attached to it that prevents those who are impacted from talking about it. So we want to be the voice. Alice Jenkins was my girlfriend's, was her name. We are the board, which Sheila has mentioned. She's a member of the board. We're a group of friends who most of us actually knew Alice, and we wanted her. We didn't want her to be remembered as a woman who was shot and killed by her husband, because she was so much more than that. And we thought that in telling her story and honoring her, that other women could be helped. We realized that you can't help everyone, but if you help whoever it is that we help to educate, whether it's someone who's in a situation, whether it's someone who knows someone who's in a situation. And I always tell people, based on the statistics, we all know someone, whether we want to admit it or not. We all know someone. 1 in 4 women are impacted at some point in their lifetime, and this is intimate partner violence. 1 in 7 men and 1 in 7 teenagers. So we all know someone. And we have to be aware and we have to be educated and know how to assist and how to help if need be. So that's the Love You Girl Foundation. And in addition to that ministry, we, a year ago, we opened up the Love You Girl Foundation boutique events and more. And
Mhm.
that's a space in South Orange. We are in South Orange, New Jersey. We are at 76 South Orange Avenue in South Orange, New Jersey. We like to refer to boutique events and more. Most of the time, it is a boutique, but it's like up level thrifting, if you will. Most of the items in the boutique are brand new or just slightly used. And we have a relaxation room because we're real big on self care. So you don't even have to buy anything. You can relax in the relaxation room. It is just as nice as any relaxation room in any spa. And you can come in, you can just relax and, you know, feel at home. We give you some tea, we'll give you some hot chocolate, depending on the season. And we just invite people into the space. But in addition to that, we have the ability to turn the boutique into an event space where we can accommodate up to 40 people with tables and chairs. And we turn it into an event space, nice, intimate space where you can have a birthday party, a shower, a girls' night out, whatever you can imagine or whatever your vision is. We're there to help that vision come to life. And everything that we collect in the space goes towards the mission and the ministry of the Love Girl Foundation.
Wow. So, how long have you guys had the thrift shop? Like, what?
We just celebrated a year anniversary in, let's see, we celebrated in September. We went in September. We opened to the public in October. And
Okay.
so we just celebrated a year.
Nice. Congratulations.
And-
So you talked a little bit about, what, like you said, we all know someone that whether we want to admit it or not, right?
Right.
And I know, you hear people say, why don't people just leave, or all of this, right? Like it's that easy. Talk to us a little bit about, what you mentioned, just the education around how someone can support or be there for someone that is going through DV.
Okay, so the number one question is a lot of the times, why doesn't she just leave? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why leave? Who would want to stay somewhere where they're being? And I think key, we have to realize that domestic violence is not only physical. You can be
Mm-hmm.
by domestic violence and never have a hand laid on you. It's emotional. It's in addition to being physical, it's emotional, it's verbal, it's threats. It Most people in a domestic violence relationship, 90% or 99% of those in a domestic violence relationship, there is also financial abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the times it's easier said than done than to leave. A lot of times women don't leave, or that's the biggest reasons why women cite they don't leave or they go back. And it takes on average 7 times, a woman will leave up to 7 times before she leaves for good. But one of the reasons
Mm-hmm.
why they don't leave or they go back is because of the financial abuse. It's because, where are you going to go? A lot of times you don't have access to family income. You don't have access to credit cards. You don't have access to the bank account. You don't. You're not working. There may be children involved. So where are you going to go? You can go into a shelter, and the shelters are there, but a lot of the times your time is limited. And so while you break free of the domestic abuse, you're trying to repair your credit. You're trying to find work. You're trying to find permanent housing, which you can afford. And maybe 30 days, 60 days, you don't even hit the tip of the iceberg in your search. And in trying to break free, you can go to a relative's home, but how long realistically can you stay there? So there are, every situation is different, but
Mm-hmm.
the abuse is sometimes what keeps women there. It's also the threat. Not only can the abuser threaten to the person that's being abused bodily harm, but they will threaten your friends, family. So there's a lot of different reasons why a woman would stay. And I think the only way is And the only way for us to eradicate domestic violence is through the awareness, it's through the education and the awareness. And it's not for the person who's being abused, because they know
Mhm.
what abuse does to them. It's for those of us who would be so quick to say, why
Mm-hmm.
doesn't she just leave? She's stupid.
Mhm.
And in doing that, sometimes we even further victimize the victim because we're being judgmental and we're just not aware and we don't know.
Mhm. And so how can those of us who are, individuals who have that mindset, right? What's some of the education, like what's some of the tools or resources that are available for people to really, first of all, know what signs there might be that someone's being abused?
I would say Google is a great resource. You'd be
Mm.
surprised at the information that is.
Oh,
Yeah.
we lost his.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
She's coming back.
A lot of us, what we do is, we, in doing the work, it's kind of difficult. I don't know if Sheila can chime in, but when we're trying to do fundraisers and raise money, I mean, we go all out and we
Mhm.
have to go the extra mile. And then you have to, a lot of the times, you got the awareness ribbon, right? The color for domestic violence awareness is purple. So you got the purple awareness ribbon, you got the purple bows, you got the nice balloons. And a lot of times we ask people, add a touch of color to your outfit. And when you get to this event, if you will, everything is nice and it's pretty and it's all purple and it's all different shades and colors of purple. But domestic violence is not pretty.
Mm.
It is quite ugly. And I tell people all the time, Google it to see what it looks like. We
Mm.
had what did we have? We had a online Zoom. It was called Broken, Battered, Not Broken. Marika Phipps. She's a woman who was she's a survivor of domestic violence, and she
Mm.
has her own 501(c), but she did a TED talk. And what she did is when she was at a point where she wanted to share and wanted to make a difference, she went to the police department and she requested the photos that they had taken of her after she had been brutally beaten and left for dead. And
Mm.
in this TED talk, she shows the photos. So you
Mm.
can see what it looks like. It's far from a purple ribbon or a purple bow or pretty purple balloons. So first of all, we need to know what domestic violence looks like. There are all kinds of Google has all kinds of information. I know that at the Love You Girl Foundation, one of the things that is a requirement to be on the board is we all had to go through training. We
Mm.
can't be about education and awareness if we're not educated and aware. So
Right.
we all have gone through the domestic violence, the dynamics of domestic violence training. And then there are three of us who sit on the board who have been through the 40 hours of professional training. Now, that being said, we are not experts. And I
Mm.
tell everybody, we're not experts. We're aware. We're quite aware. So if someone comes to us and they need help, we are, we are connected to community organizations, professionals who we can
Mm.
refer people to. We can refer them to professionals. And sometimes it's someone who is being impacted by domestic violence. And we don't like to say victims, we like to say survivors, but it's according to how the person that's in the relationship wants to be defined. So, when I say victims, survivors, kind of using that interchangeably, but sometimes it's a family member or it's a friend who either that survivor has shared with them or they suspect and they're looking for ways in which to help. So we kind of, we refer them to professionals. And every state has a coalition. No matter
Mm.
what state you're in, you can look up your coalition. You can give them a call. There's a domestic violence hotline number, which is 800-799-7233. I'll say that once more, 800-799-7233. And there's all kinds of local domestic violence organizations, so that if you need to know, how can I help someone? This is what I suspect. The best thing you can do is to put them into the hands of a professional. You don't want to be judgmental. Signs and symptoms. There's all kinds of signs and there's all kinds of symptoms. You might have someone who doesn't wear makeup. All of a sudden, they're wearing
Mhm.
makeup. I like to talk about a
Mhm.
time I was in traffic court. I was in traffic court. I had gotten a ticket, but it was in the evening, and there was a young woman there, and she was there, and what she was doing, she had been abused by her boyfriend. And I sat next to this one. It was amazing. I sat next to her before court started, and when she was before the judge asked her to move her hair away from her eye. So, all of a sudden someone's wearing makeup because they're trying to hide the bruises where there is, physical violence going on. All of a sudden, a person is withdrawn, and you start to question your value, your self-esteem. All of a sudden, there's all kinds of symptoms. But I always say, Google is there.
Mhm.
With the Love You Girl website, we try to put as much out there as we can to educate and make people aware. But again, there's stigma that's attached. But we try to put, here's the signs, here's the symptoms, here's how to get help, and here's how to get help safely, which is most important. Getting someone or yourself help, but doing it and getting it safely.
So, good evening. For those of you who are just joining us, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. And we are right now discussing with our guest, Betty Neal. It's a conversation around domestic violence awareness. Betty is sharing some really great information on the foundation that she runs and how domestic violence victims or survivors can get support and help. And so, Betty, I just want to make sure I got the hotline right, because I'm going to put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
800-799-7233.
Right. And that's the
Yeah.
National Domestic Violence Hotline number.
Okay.
So,
Sheila, you want to share your experience?
well, one of the things that I wanted to add is that every week you can hear a news story about a spouse, an estranged spouse, an ex-spouse, an ex-boyfriend, or an ex-girlfriend who has taken the life of someone that they were in a relationship with. You don't even have to worry, just, hear it about what's going on in your state, because it also becomes national news. So that's one of the things that we try to relay to people, is that it's not a pretty picture, as Betty was saying, and that it's not just segmented in one part of society, right? It could happen anywhere, at any time, to anybody. So the fact that you hear it so frequently, we're trying to get people to not be numb about it, right? Because somewhere along the line, there's going to be someone that's closer to you that this will happen to. When we talk about the statistics that Betty will get into, when you hear the statistics, it makes you realize that it's closer to you than you possibly think.
And
Yeah.
it's crazy because, as Betty was talking, right, I'm thinking, about the women who go to the police, right, and what that struggle is like, right, for, sometimes you get a restraining order, or you try to get support, and it takes so long for them to get involved, right? Is that changing how the police deal with domestic violence, people who are in that situation? Is it changing how they respond to calls or assistance for help?
From what I know, I mean, again, I don't know enough to be able to, I can just tell you what I know. I know that when you get that 40 hours of training, and anybody can get the 40 hours of training, go into places where you can't go if you don't have the training, like, for instance, a shelter.
Mhm.
or a lot of police departments, local to police departments, have advocates that the police officers will show up at the scene and they'll do what police officers do. The advocate is there, and the advocate will listen to you. Do not, we don't give our opinion. It's not what we think. It's not what we tell you to do. We listen, or an advocate will listen and refer.
Mm.
So the police come, they do what they do. They take the report, they call for medical assistance if need be, and the advocate is there. And I don't know that that's the case in every police department throughout the state, but I would venture to guess it is probably the case in most of them. And the advocate will refer to organizations where the person can then go and they can work on getting a restraining order, getting proper representation, and those type of things. But one thing fine is that the person has to be ready to make those steps, and that's why it's real important. You can't tell someone what to do. What you tell someone what to do, or what I tell someone to do, might get them killed or seriously injured. And so, from a statistical standpoint, 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence in her lifetime. 1 in 4. So there's 4 of us on this broadcast right now. 1 in 4, everywhere we go. So that means basically one of us potentially was, will be, or is right now in a domestic violence relationship. As I stand in the supermarket, as I go to the nail salon and the hair salon and the mall, everywhere I go, you look around, and 1 in 4 women, that's a lot. Women aren't the only ones. As Sheila stated, it could happen to anyone. Men are actually, believe it or not, victims or abused. 1 in 7 men, that's a lot too. And then you have teen dating violence. 1 in 7 teens. Do we talk to our teenagers? We talk to them about stranger danger, but do we talk to them about healthy relationships? Most of the relationships that we have, our first relationships, are when we're teens and we're dating. Those are, most of our relationships. It is said that 1 in every 5 teenage girls who have been in a relationship said a boyfriend threatened violence or self-harm if presented with a breakup. We need to talk to our young adults about teen dating and what a healthy relationship looks like. So it's all about the awareness, and we believe that awareness and education is the key to eradicating the crime of domestic violence.
You're on mute, Theo.
Do you guys, yeah, do you guys go into schools to have those conversations with?
We will go anywhere we're invited to have the conversations. We
Okay.
have in schools. We have presented college students. We have presented to a group of I don't think these young ladies weren't even in high school. They were 7th and 8th
Yeah, they
grade,
live in high school.
who were in a summer program, and they requested the training. So we went and we presented there. We have been in houses of worship,
Mm.
professional settings. At every event that we do, there's the fundraising piece, and you have to handle the business of fundraising. But we try to do education and awareness at events and fundraisers. Maybe not as extensive as a workshop, but we always try to want those who attend to leave being just a little bit more aware and educated about domestic violence. So if you don't remember anything, 1 in 4 women. And again, men get impacted too. It's just that women are disproportionately impacted. But anyone can be impacted. It doesn't matter what your zip code is. It doesn't matter how much money you got in your bank account. It doesn't matter what color you are. Same-sex, heterosexual relationships, anyone can be impacted. And those are the things that you have to make people aware of and get across. Because
Yeah,
there's
it sounds like it sounds like even like people wouldn't even think, right? Men, 1 in 7,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, Women, 1 in 4, teenagers. Just it's just amazing, right? To realize that it sounds small, but it's really huge when you think about 1 in 4, right?
Oh, it's huge. It's an epidemic. It's an
Yeah,
epidemic. And any other epidemic, right?
yeah,
We all be
yeah.
right of it, trying to see what we can do. What can we do to
Right.
lessen, you know, this epidemic? So it's a lot that goes into it. It's I always tell people it is so wide and so deep, and it's amazing things that you would never ever think about how it impacts children in the household. They say that boys who witness it in the household are more likely to become abusers, and girls who witness it in the household are more likely to become victims or survivors of the
Mhm.
because you're in the household. This is what you see. This is what
Right.
love like. This is what you've seen.
Yeah.
So sometimes children are the forgotten victims.
Mm.
So it's a lot that goes on, and so we're there and we're educating and we're trying to create the awareness wherever we go. We always like to say, though, it sometimes can look like, again, women are disproportionately impacted, and it can sometimes look like, oh, you guys are trying to make the men look bad, you're trying to villainize the men, make the men look like villains. Well, we want to say that that's absolutely not what we do, and we know that there are good men out there, and quite a few of those good men actually work very closely with us. And we always say to the men, you've got mothers, you've got sisters, you've got daughters, and you know what? Be told they know something. Men and women, we all, like I said, we all, based on those statistics, we all know something. We
Mm.
know something, you know?
Wow. And if you're just joining us tonight, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We're talking about a really, not pretty conversation, but it's a necessary conversation on domestic violence awareness. And I think one of the things you started out with was how domestic violence, right? With this, it shares the month with breast cancer, right? And so both very important, right? Subjects, but domestic violence probably doesn't get as much attention. And so we're trying to bring attention to what is truly an epidemic tonight. And so we hope that this conversation will help someone, also provide individuals with a resource, the foundation. And Betty, we're going to ask you to give the email address, or Sheila, if you could put the website rather
Yeah.
in the comments, right? Because there are a lot of resources that the foundation provides. But Betty, I also would like you to share how someone can support the foundation.
Okay. Um, Supporting the foundation. Right now, the space that we're in, the Love You Girl boutique events and more. Again, it is a boutique, a thrift boutique. And I know there's a lot of people out there who love to go to thrift shops. And all of a sudden I want to go in a thrift shop. I'm driving down the street. I'm like, oh my God, there's a thrift shop. I go around the corner, find me somewhere to park, and I go in. And nothing against thrift shops, but most of them smell like mothballs. Most of them, the clothes are in all kinds of shapes and condition. Well, we pride ourselves on the quality of what's in the boutique.
Mm.
Everything there in the boutique gets donated. And God is just so good that people donate things with the tags still on them. So most
Mm.
items are new, and even if they're not new, they're in good condition. So we can support that way. Before you go to your Macy's, if you got an event coming up, or you just want to do some retail therapy before you go to the big stores like Macy's, and I don't know, I want to say Lord and Taylor, but there's no longer a Lord and Taylor, but I think you guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Boutique events and more. I'd be surprised at what you would find. In addition to that, we're going to treat you like a VIP, because we're going to offer you to sit and take a load off, put your feet up, relax in the relaxation room. We're going to give you some relaxing music. We're going to give you some aromatherapy, and we make a mean cup of tea.
Mm.
So you can support just by shopping. And we're small business run by women. So, you have to remember the small businesses, women-owned businesses in particular. And if you want to support, you can support that way. Everything that comes in or everything that we make, we do not get paid. We are 100% run by volunteers. And
Mm.
most of the time, it's myself and Maddie Crowley, who is the co-founder. We're hired, so we're open from Wednesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we're there. We make sure that if not both of us, one of us is there to receive folks. But we also take donations. So if you want to donate, maybe you are at Macy's and they're having a awesome sale, and you see something, and maybe it's not your size, and I do it all the time. Maybe this isn't my size, but you know what? I can't leave this here. I'm going to buy this and I'm going to donate it to the boutique. So we do take donations, whether it's new clothes, slightly used. We do take donations. We do have some men's clothing and children's clothing in the boutique, but there's more women's clothing because I guess we as women, we have more women's clothing and some children's clothing in the boutique. So you can donate. We ask that you donate in season because we don't have store. We don't have the ability to store clothing that is out of season. We ask that the clothing be cleaned because we cannot incur the expense of cleaning. I don't know if you guys have been to the cleaners lately, but it's outrageous to get something clean.
Yeah.
And we just ask that it be in good condition and excellent shape. So that's one of the ways you can donate. As I said earlier, it's also an event space. So if you're looking to have an intimate event, why not consider boutique events and more? If you go on our Facebook page, you would be able to see some photos of just how we can transform the boutique into an event space. We've had people come in for an event and then they come back and see us and they're like, oh my God, this is the same room. Or you show them a picture and they're like, oh my God, that's the same room. So we have, and when you rent from us, and we charge $360. This is the basic price. It's $360 for 6 hours, plus 20% gratuity. But what you get is you get the main room, you get the relaxation room, and then we have a kitchen.
Mm.
So the kitchen has everything but a stove, but we can have sternals to keep food warm. So your event can be just as nice as it can be at any banquet hall that's out there. And we can guarantee you're not going to find a better price or better service.
That's for sure. So I'm going to let my co-host, chime in, ask any questions you have. And for those of you who are, viewing now, if you have questions or comments, please share in the chat. But this is the Woman to Woman show, New You Nation Network. And I just think this is a conversation that is so needed that we're having tonight about domestic violence. And so, Betty, I thank you so much again for just joining us and shedding some light on this topic and some awareness around.
Yeah.
So, Regina, Sheila, anything to add? Questions?
Well, I think one of the things that we can talk about a little bit is what COVID did with domestic violence. Because you had spouses at home, you also had the children at home. So not only were people more susceptible to domestic violence, but they were more able to witness it. And whereas a lot of children, they may not have been a part of the domestic violence in their household because they were home, then they became victims as well. So that was one of the things that I think we needed to expound on, because domestic violence just didn't stop when the world opened up. So chances are, if they were a party of it during COVID. It continued after COVID as well.
I know COVID was referred to as a pandemic within a pandemic.
Mm.
To Sheila's point,
Yeah.
now you're secluded at home, being able to go out and go to work, or run whatever errands that you ran. That almost gave the person who was being abused a break from it. So now you're quarantined. You're I don't want to say quarantine, but I guess it was a quarantine.
Mhm.
Now you're stuck and you're in the house
Yeah.
with the abuser, and there's kind of sort of no way out. I think it's also a good time to maybe talk about some statistics. Um,
Mhm.
every 9 seconds in the United States, that's just in the United States, a woman is beaten or assaulted every 9 seconds. Globally, 35% of all murders of women are reported to be committed by a current or former intimate partner. I think
Mhm.
I want to say auto accidents, domestic violence is right up there in terms of you know something that kills women. And I also think that we need to realize that when a woman is trying to break free, that's when she's in the most danger. That's when she's
Mhm.
in danger of being seriously injured or killed. We also need to understand all these statistics that we're quoting, these statistics are only based upon instances that have been reported. And we need to understand that in most cases, most instances go unreported.
Mhm.
It is only most of the time when a woman is seriously injured or there's a homicide that it's reported. So a lot of instances don't even get reported to the police. And so these instances are instances that are being reported. So how active are they? But COVID was definitely a challenging time where it women were still encouraged to report what's going on,
Mhm.
but not only were all of us were at home. In most places in the country we were home, but I know that the domestic violence, the folks that run the hotline, the local organization, they were still even in that space doing as much as they could, but it really presented it was problematic because again it was a pandemic inside of a.
Yeah. And it's funny, Sheila, when you mentioned that, I remember having that conversation with a friend and saying to that friend, one of like that was a thought to me, right? Like it came to my mind, like the individuals that are experiencing domestic violence, right now, COVID for them is not a great thing, right? Not just because of it was COVID, but because they have like going to work is an escape, right? Going to school is an escape. Going outside the house is an escape. And now you have to be at home all day with this individual that could get set off by the littlest of thing. And now you got this pandemic that also has more people on edge, right? Which now makes them even quicker to snap and go after you. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that was a conversation I had with a friend of mine that was like, my heart goes out to anybody that's in that situation. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm just grateful to be able to have this conversation and bring awareness to it, because I do feel like we have, like you said, we know it's domestic violence month. People know purple. Some people might not have known the colors purple, but it's not just about wearing the purple ribbon or wearing purple and recognizing it. Like there's so much more that we need to do, because there are so many lives that are being lost because they're in these situations that sometimes they can't even find their way out of because they don't have a means to get out of it, or they're more afraid to leave, right? And so they stay.
Right.
Because
Right.
what the abuser is capable of, or to your point, where there is financial abuse on top of
Mm-hmm.
domestic violence, it's it's not so easy. It's easy said, or easy for somebody who's not in the situation to say what should be done. And one of the things that I think I mentioned it earlier that you learn from the training is no, you don't tell no. We like to tell people what to do,
Mm-hmm.
but we like to say what we would do if we were in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you can't. You have to put them into the hands of a professional. That's probably the best thing you can ever do for someone who's in that situation. The professional will assess the situation. They will come up with a plan and a strategy. And depending on what the situation is, everybody's situation is different. Maybe I'm in a situation where I can stay in the household and break
Mm-hmm.
free. But maybe someone else is in a situation where they're being threatened,
Mm-hmm.
that that the abuser will threaten that they will kill them. And they're in a situation where I always like to say it's like the house is on fire. If the house is on fire, you gotta go. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to grab a whole lot of things. You just take what is essential, what is necessary, and it doesn't mean a whole bunch of clothes and things of that nature. You just have to go. You have to go, and you have to, um, you enter into a shelter because safety is always number one. So only a professional can assess each individual situation. And we're not, at the Love You Girl Foundation, we kind of like to stay in our lane. There's a lane that you need to stay in. That's how you avoid collisions. You stay in your lane. And
Mm-hmm.
what you do is what you. But we do get phone calls, and we do refer people to professionals. Just that. That's the situation. Determine in this particular situation what needs to be. My situation may be different.
And so, so the foundation can refer people, and even if they call the National Domestic Violence Hotline, they can also refer them to professionals.
Right. And we've referred
Yes.
most of the people we refer, most of the phone calls we get are people here in New Jersey. And I would say the majority of the phone calls we get are from friends and family members. But
Mm.
we also have gotten phone calls out of the state. And I had mentioned before, every state has a coalition or there's a state run organization that's there specifically to handle domestic violence issues. So, one of the things that I like to do, I never like to give anybody a number that when they call that number, no one's going to answer on the other end. So, if you call, if you're in New Jersey, if you're outside of New Jersey, I always will Google to find out what organization that is in whatever state. And I actually call the number myself, let them know who I am. I am going to refer such and such and such and such. And I just wanted to make sure that when I give them this number, that somebody is going.
Mm. So, for those of you who may just be joining us, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We are having a conversation about domestic violence awareness. Before we end, I'm going to have Betty repeat the statistics again, but I do want to let you know that we've put the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline in the chat. We're going to put the website for the foundation in the chat as well. And, just want everyone to be aware, if you are a friend or a family member of someone that you might suspect that is being abused, you need to proceed with caution, right? And you can call the foundation or you can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline to get that information to help the individual possibly come up with a plan to leave, because that's the other thing. Sometimes they have time to make a plan and sometimes they don't, right? And so just be aware that is not just saying, hey, I'm being abused, I'm going to leave. It's not that easy. There are so many other circumstances that are taking place. So please don't be judgmental. Don't think you have the answer, but try to be supportive, right, in helping the individual to get out. That's what I heard tonight. And so I just want to reiterate that to anyone that might be listening now or will be listening later, that the best way to provide support to someone you suspect is to be abused is to help them find the information to get the professional help to get out of the situation that they're in.
I'd say you got it. That is my belief. Being supportive. Sometimes means um, being supportive actually means reassuring the person you did nothing to deserve this.
Mhm.
You know, uh, you are of value. You're not damaged goods. Just being emotionally and mentally supportive to the person, and then you also said to proceed with caution. I think that one of the things that we need to mention is a lot of times not only do we want to tell people what to do, we also want to tell people what we'll do.
Mhm.
Well, we have to be careful, mindful that we could be in danger as well. There are also people who are injured and killed because they were bystanders, because they went and to assist and to help. And I'm so sorry. I'm getting all kinds of little messages. I told y'all about my miracle baby when we first started.
Yeah.
It's time for the update. So I'm getting all kinds of messages that are in front of you guys. And so that's why my hand is like, okay, go away now. Is bystanders who also get seriously injured and killed because
Mhm.
and they can't help. So that's what being aware and understanding that and knowing that, like one of the worst things you could probably do is go over there and help, or go over there and think that you're gonna do X, Y, and Z to someone.
Mhm.
So
So
I'm
if someone wants to find out about the 40-hour training, is that information also on the foundation website?
It's not on the foundation website, but most I know that here where we are, Essex County, the courts offer it. A lot of the organizations that you'll find when you go to the coalition or the organization in whatever state will have it. I
Mhm.
can tell you that the organizations, you need volunteers.
Mhm.
You need volunteers that are aware. I would also say, as you consider maybe being a volunteer and advocate, you have to be healthy enough yourself. And I'm going to say that again. And it's not meant to be negative, but you have to be in a space where you're healthy enough.
Mhm.
That again, we all know someone. There are so many people a coworker sitting on the pew next to you in the church on Sunday morning that have been or either are in domestic violence relationships, and we would never be the wiser, and we don't know, because one thing is that people are good at hiding it. So you have to make, and everybody wants to help, and you got to stay in your lane and know how you can help. Everybody can help, but everybody can't necessarily be an advocate because everybody is not healthy enough to be an advocate.
Mhm.
All probably have had some kind of experience.
Mhm.
So it's probably will be easy enough to find the training. The training sessions are not necessarily always offered. Sometimes you have to wait until the next time. You may have just missed the class, and you might have to wait until the next time that it's offered. But I would say check with the coalitions, check with the community organizations, and I'm sure they could let you know. I know that here, the Love Girl Foundation, we got our training, both the dynamics of domestic violence and the 40 hours, the YWCA. That's
Mhm.
where we got our training. So I would say check with the YWCA local area as well.
All right. Well, we are hitting the top of the hour. So I'm going to, close out by just reiterating why we're here. Tonight, we are having a very important conversation about domestic violence awareness. This is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. For those of you who may not know, it is a very serious topic. Some of the information shared by our guest, Betty Neal, who is the executive director and founder of the Lovely Girl Foundation. Did I say that correct?
Love you.
Right, Lovely, right? And so um, we need you to support them. We need you to donate to the boutique. We need you to donate finances. We need you to help them continue to do this very important work. But also, we just heard that we also need volunteers. And the way to become a volunteer is you could take a 40-hour training where you get some training on, just domestic violence, what it means, what it is, and then you can go out and be an advocate as well. So, Betty, I'm gonna let you give some last words and um, about the topic and what, how people can help and be more of service.
Okay, thank you so much. Once again, I want to thank you guys. Thank you for your service that you have month after month after month. I would just end by stating this is October. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic violence, remember, a good thing to know is that it's never about anger. It is about power and control. It is a pattern of coercive, controlling behavior that can include physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, or financial abuse. It's widespread and it can impact anyone. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, please do not hesitate. Call 911. If you're not in immediate danger, I think we've stated the numbers and it's in the chat. You would want to contact the National Domestic Hotline number at 800-799-7233. There's also ways you can text them. And there's also the hotline.org, which is the website you can go to. And I would just like to end by saying we at the Love You Girl Foundation, we believe that violence and abuse is wrong and it should never, ever be tolerated. It doesn't matter where it comes from. We also believe education and awareness is the key to eradicating domestic violence. And once again, I thank you for this time. Another way you can donate is you can go to www.loveyougirl.org. There is a donate button right on the first page. So any donation that you give is appreciated. Doesn't matter how much or how little. It all adds up and it helps us to continue our mission and our ministry. And once again, I thank you guys for inviting me. And I hope that all of those who are listening, this leaves a little bit more aware and educated about domestic violence, ways to help, get involved. And if you or someone you know need help, most importantly, that you would know how to get the help and how to get it.
And so the website is www.lovelyLovygirl.org.
It's Love You.
Love You. Okay.
Love You Girl. LOVEYOUGIRL.org. And Love You Girl is something that Alice and I would say when we spoke on the phone. She would always say, "Love you, girl." And I say, "Love you," or "Love you back." So that's where the organization, that's where the name comes from.
Yeah, and so for anyone that's just joining us, we're about to wrap up, but this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network, and this foundation was birthed out of love for a friend of both Betty Neal and Sheila, who lost their life tragically because they were shot by someone who supposedly was a loved one. And so, this is a really important topic, and it is truly an epidemic, and there is so much more that we can do. And so we hope that you will donate, whether it's financially, whether it's clothing, whether it's becoming a volunteer, whether it's just being aware so that you can help someone that might be in this situation. And we will put in the chat the website and the information so that you can donate. And Sheila and Regina, if you have any last thoughts, please.
Well, I like to say that you can become a voice for the voiceless by educating yourself, becoming aware, and spreading the information. It's just, while I want to say it's just that simple, there's a lot more to it. But the more aware and more educated that you are about it, the more you can share information and resources. And just somewhere, there's going to be one person that is going to be able to take that information to help themselves.
Mm.
Sheila makes a good point. I've had so many conversations standing in the line at the grocery store or the Walmart. Amazing the conversations that you would have with people. And if you're aware, you can, if you can't do anything else, you can get the National Domestic Violence Hotline number.
Mhm. And guys, this is a 501c organization. This is not just any old fly by night organization. This is a 501c organization who is doing some great work to hopefully, just make this situation better for a lot of women and men and
Amen. Yes.
teenagers. Right. And so let's not forget that it is not just women, men and teenagers. Right. And what's so important about recognizing that it is teenagers is let's eradicate it before it even gets to the point where they become adult women who are being, or adult men who are being abused. Right. And let's not forget that they are men, and men, pride and ego will usually stop them from even sharing, right? And so be mindful.
Reporting it, the men aren't.
Right. And so Betty Neal, thank you again. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing. And I definitely will find out from Sheila how I can get more involved. And Regina, you have any last thoughts before we end tonight?
Well, I would like to say the organization that I'm in, you guys know that I mentor girls. And we did have, there's a group in Charlotte that's called Love Speaks. And they came in and spoke to our girls about being in unhealthy relationships, which in turn talk about domestic violence, and gave them tips. So that's what you talked about, speaking to the youth before they get there and understanding. And it was an excellent program. And the second half of it, they're going to come back and talk to our girls this year about healthy relationships. So we talked about unhealthy relationships. Now we're going to talk about healthy relationships. So there are resources out there, and there are other programs as well. So I'm glad that we talked about this. So it's really, really impactful. And the part that spoke to me most, I mean, it's all good, but our young people, before they get there, exactly what you said.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't wait till it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Need to prevent it before it happens.
Yeah.
So invite us. We'll come to Charlotte too.
Yeah.
We would love to have you. And for anybody that's out there that might watch this, that's an educator or who works with, women, or works with young adults, I work with youth shelters, right? I worked in a homeless youth shelter, right? So anybody that, hey, if you need someone to come in and provide some education, the loveyougirl.org, right, foundation, and please donate. That's the only way we can help support is, financially definitely helps them do more work. It gives more resources, because we can make it better. We might not be able to stop it completely, but we can make a difference. Right. And so let's try to do our part to help. And so we're going to say good night. We thank you for joining us for this very important topic. Join us next week when we will be talking about breast cancer. Next week, we'll have a guest on that will be talking about breast cancer and, just the awareness and education around that. But for me, because I have known individuals who have been in this situation, and now I feel like, I want to get more education so I could be more impactful in helping, right? Because, you know, it's great to just be there for someone, but to have some information to help them a little more through it, I think is so impactful. So thank you again. This really for me was good. So I hope it helped someone else. And we're going to say goodnight. As we normally do, we say truth
Plus transparency equals healing.
Healing.
All
Good
right.
night.
Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.